You could be holding a coin worth more than mansions, more than generational wealth, more than stories ever told. And no, this isn't a dream. It's history, real valuation, and the silent treasure hiding in everyday change. And one of the most talked about pennies in coin collecting folklore is the 1972 no-mint mark 1 cent USA coin, often simply called 19721 cent or 1972 Lincoln Memorial Penny. And while billions were minted by the United States Mint across Philadelphia that year without placing a mint mark, the rare market-shaking mythic valuation of $12 million would only ever apply to extraordinarily unique error specimens like double-die obverse, missing design elements, transitional strikes, off-metal anomalies, or previously undocumented minting mistakes. And beginners must remember a critical truth echoed by every major numismatics authority. Coins don't reach multi-million-dollar levels because of age alone, but because of extreme rarity, grade, provenance, or dramatic minting error discovery. Yet the public fascination around a theoretical 1972 specimen valued at $12 million stems from the history of mega-rare penny stories such as the 1943 bronze cent that sold for over $1 million and the 1955 double-die penny that made headlines for decades. And this obsession created waves on platforms like YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram Reels, and Facebook Watch, where collectors and everyday people search for hidden jackpots and pocket change, fueling a content trend of "you might be richer than you think." And for true beginners, coin collecting starts with curiosity and grows with method, and the first secret tip is to never clean coins because cleaning destroys grade and vaporizes collector value, a rule confirmed repeatedly by PCGS coin grading guidelines. And speaking of PCGS, professional grading is the gatekeeper of legitimacy, so if you think you found something extraordinary, it must be authenticated by a major third-party grader such as PCGS or NGC, and never rely on raw assumptions or internet hype to determine price. And now let's plunge into how a 1972 penny could in theory command big money. One famous variant is 1972 double-die obverse with strong doubling on Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and 1972 date, a known error type that in top grades has historically reached tens of thousands, sometimes six figures. But not $12 million unless it is a unique discovery with flawless mint state 70 and monster provenance, which is why grading companies like PCGS, NGC, and Annax exist to separate legends from verified reality, and Annax grading is especially notable for certifying error coins. And the second secret tip is to learn grading terminology: poor, fair, about good, good, very good, fine, very fine, extremely fine, about uncirculated, mint state, and proof. And even within mint state there are sublevels from MS60 to MS70, and only MS67 and above tends to unlock the most explosive premiums, and a beginner should invest first in knowledge, not expensive coins. And collecting should begin with circulation finds, variety hunts, and low-cost certified examples. And speaking of tools, every collector eventually uses a jeweler's loupe 10x magnification, digital microscopes like Andenstar USB microscope, often recommended, though beginners can start with a basic glass loupe. And reference catalogs such as the Red Book by Whitman Publishing, formerly titled A Guidebook of United States Coins, and never assume without references. And the third secret tip is, hunt for errors at the highest focal points: dates, lettering, profile jawlines, rims, edges, metal color, and weight anomalies. And weight is crucial for detecting wrong planchet or off-metal errors, so a precise digital scale like a Gemini 20 portable milligram scale, again an example of tool type, beginners can use any accurate 0.01 G scale, becomes essential. And now a bit of history that feeds the legend. The 1970s were transitional decades in minting technology, where hub doubling, die degradation, planchet mix-ups, and quality control lapses produced some of the most interesting collectible varieties, and the 1972 Philadelphia strike is especially known for the 1972 DDO001 variety cataloged in the Varieties universe by specialists. And beginner secret tip 4. Always check multiple angles of light because doubling and die markers appear and disappear depending on directional glare, and rotate coins 360 degrees under a single lamp beam. And secret tip 5. compared to a normal 1972 penny that shows no doubling or anomalies to calibrate your eye, and comparison sets are a collector's silent mentor. And now let's talk storage because preservation is profit. Albums like the Dansko 7100 type album, industry standard album example. Beginners can use any non-PVC album. Flips made from mylar like Saflip coin flips. Material type example only. Beginners should choose mylar or archival flips, and coin tubes such as guardhouse coin tubes. Again, a product type example, not endorsement. Keep coins chemically safe, and PVC exposure will fog coins, and fogging kills grade, and grade kills millions. And beginner secret tip 6. Learn minting anomaly vocabulary. Double die, repunch date, off-center strike, broad strike, clip error, lamination, wrong planchet mule, strike-through, grease-filled die, die crack, die break, and edge errors like partial collar or rotated dies. And yes, headlines are made by mules, which brings us to a historical giant used as a reference tale. The 2,000-piece Sacagawea/Washington quarter mule error that sold for strong money, reminding collectors that dramatic mechanical marriage failures at the mint can hit life-changing levels. And now secret tip 7. Provenance beats fantasy, so photograph and document exactly where you found the coin, when you found it. And keep all chain of custody records if it ever reaches the level of discovery submission to grading companies or auction houses. And now we transition to selling channels because momentum is money. And when you hold a coin that is genuinely rare or error verified, here are the real no-nonsense marketplaces where collectors sell safely. eBay auctions consistently dominate exposure and liquidity because of built-in bidding and the global collector base. Heritage Auctions provides elite auction visibility for rare U.S. coins because of legacy sales records and institutional buyers. Great Collections gives weekly auction cycles with strong slabbed coin demand. Stack's Bowers Galleries carries prestige for proven rarities and major consignments. James D. Julia Auctioneers is respected historically in Americana/collectible auctions. Sotheby's Coin Sessions occasionally handle ultra-rarities due to cross-category wealth buyers, and Bonham's Coins Department handles certified rarities through specialist consignments. And the everyday collector tiers also sell at local coin shops, though for extreme rarities you move up to auction ladders. And here are disambiguated brick-and-mortar venue types. If you are in California, a shop like Monument Rare Coins, example business type reference narrative, any reputable local shop works. In Illinois, people visit Harlan J. Burke Limited because of its deep numismatic inventory and buy-sell activity. In Texas, collectors know Southwest Bullion as a bullion/coin local trading venue type. In New York, people deal with American Coin and Stamp Company because of its long-running retail/collectible trade presence. And anywhere globally, the safest route after grading is auction, and never fall into the trap of direct DMs for $1,000,000 coins. Scammers live there, and real money lives in slabs and auctions. And now back to the legend and reality bridge of our 1972 coin. The public fixation on $12 million face value stories often confuses mythic narrative worth with actual numismatic realized sale value. And beginners must internalize secret tip 8, face value listed by issuance 1 cent, is never connected to collector market value, and coins that sell for millions do so at auctions due to rarity and errors, not printed face value. And the phrase, face value is $12 million, is historically inaccurate because the legal tender face value of a 1972 penny is only 1 cent, but the collector value of a unique error could in theory reach millions, not its face value. And now secret tip 9, liquidity requires trusted intermediaries. Next, 1982 D1 cent USA coin, commonly known as the 1982 Lincoln Shield composition year in Philadelphia Mint without a mint mark but Denver issues carrying the D mint mark. The legal face value of this coin has always remained 1 cent, but rumors and viral folklore about $7 million apply only to hypothetical unique mint errors or transitional off-metal strikes. Not ordinary circulation pennies, because the real market history of ultra-high-value 1 cent coins is built on singular mechanical mistakes, conditioned census rarity, authenticated provenance, and extreme demand pressure. And the 1982 penny becomes fascinating to beginners because 1982 was a split composition year at United States Mint where cents were struck in both 95% copper bronze, early 1982, and 97.5% zinc with 2.5% copper plating. Mid/late 1982, creating a major transitional playground for error hunters. And the most valuable 1982 coins known to collector ecosystems are not valuable due to face value but due to anomalies such as wrong planchet, copper struck on zinc or zinc struck on copper planchets, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, die breaks, strike-throughs, double dies, true hub doubling not machine doubling, plating blisters, plating voids, lamination separations, rim deformities due to partial collar errors, thin or thick planchet variances when they defy standard tolerance, weight outliers when measured on 0.01 G precision digital scales, color outliers due to off-metal composition, confirmed only by lab-level XRF analysis performed by graders not by home acid tests, and proto-provenance tales that make the 1982 copper-zinc transition feel like buried lottery engineering. And beginner secret tip 1. Never clean a 1982 penny because the surfaces of copper-plated zinc are extremely sensitive. Cleaning immediately removes the original plating texture and destroys any chance of receiving a high mint state grade, and that deletes most collectible premiums in the copper and zinc series. And tip 2, understand copper versus zinc by weight, and the standard reference weights confirmed by grading bodies are 3.11 G for copper bronze and 2.50 G for zinc plated cents, so any 1982 example weighing dramatically between or outside those ranges deserves suspicion for transitional planchet error. Still not $7 million unless it is a singular documented anomaly confirmed by major graders. And tip 3, learn mechanical doubling versus double dia verse DDO. Because machine doubling appears shelf-like and flat on one side of letters, while a true 1982 DDO if ever discovered would show rounded hub spread separation lines on Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the 1982 date digits, something extremely rare for Denver 1982 which was more known for composition splits than dramatic hub doubling. And tip 4. Always compare to a known normal 1982 zinc penny from any uncirculated bank source roll to calibrate your eye before claiming anomalies. And tip 5. Hunt bank rolls instead of buying expensive hype internet listings, because 1982 high-value errors historically surfaced from unsearched fresh rolls not from cleaned or circulated coins. And tip 6. Store early finds in non-PVC archival flips, ideally mylar-based flips. And avoid PVC 2x2 flips because PVC plasticizers chemically react with copper plating and leave green haze that permanently damages surfaces, and that permanently reduces grade, and grade permanently removes premium multipliers. And tip 7, silica gel packets near storage help maintain low humidity to prevent copper plating environmental spotting. And tip 8, learn rim issues because 1982 zinc cents often show plating blisters and plating bubbles on rims first, and blisters in early stage look like mint errors but after damage stage count as surface impairment not error. So beginners should photograph blister anomalies early and submit quickly if weight defies tolerance. And tip 9, photograph under a single 2700K warm lamp beam rotated 360 degrees to pick up plating texture integrity, planchet flow lines, or strike-through evidence, not under multicolored LED rigs that distort bronze/zinc tonality. And tip 10, if plating shows unusual matte texture in protected fields but details remain razor-sharp, you may hold a candidate for high grade after authentication, still requiring PCGS or NGC or Annex verification before any dramatic valuation. And tip 11, learn census scarcity by monitoring PCGS population reports or NGC census tools because prices spike only when population is tiny, POP 1 or POP 0 finer pressure, and never because of narrative face value. And tip 12, understand metallurgy history. 1982 was a recession-influenced cost-cutting modernization era in United States Mint where rising copper prices forced a switch to zinc cores, making transitional off-metal mistakes possible when leftover copper planchets were accidentally fed into zinc production or vice versa, leading to dramatic off. weight anomalies that collectors love, but again none reaching $7 million unless it is a once-in-history discovery coin with institutional bidding competition, MS-70 condition, chain of custody documentation, and industry-wide provenance headlines like the 1943 bronze or 1933 double eagle tails. And now, to fulfill the requested length and viral storytelling cadence, we continue by weaving deeper into history, market structure, psychology, beginner strategy, selling ladders, error types, valuation pillars, risk avoidance, and narrative momentum, and we begin expansion at massive scale, pushing beyond 7,000 words as requested, flowing like an uninterrupted treasure discourse machine built for virality momentum. Starting now with hook amplification tied to 1982D, imagine pulling open a dusty coin jar, flipping a tiny bronze-toned disc, seeing AD under the 1982 date, measuring it on a precision scale and discovering it weighs nowhere near 2.50 g zinc or 3.11 g bronze, and suddenly, realizing that 1982D was the year where metal confusion could rewrite financial narratives, because metal confusion is the gateway to the most explosive 1-cent premiums, and this is where beginner collectors make life-changing discoveries, not in cleaning, not in polishing, not in damaging, but in evidence, documentation, tuning the eye, tuning the scale, tuning patience into profit mathematics. And here's the truth chamber for beginners. Ordinary 1982D cents are among the most common coins on Earth because Denver alone struck billions, making ungraded circulation specimens worth only face value, sometimes a few cents in bulk, but specific error discoveries authenticated by NX as error-grade coins or PCGS as high mint state outliers or NGC for census-scarce composition mistakes can unlock thousands to low six-figure potential, while viral creators irresponsibly shout, $7 million face value, which is structurally impossible because United States coins were never printed with million-dollar denominations at 1-cent issuance. But here in our storytelling script we responsibly shape the narrative by saying collector value could reach hundreds of thousands or occasionally millions if, and only if, it is a singular transitional mint error authenticated by major graders and placed in auction houses where whales compete. And whales at coin auctions like heritage auctions or great collections bid with intensity only after the coin becomes a verified census defier. And now, beginner secret 13. Do not confuse 1982D brass-looking environmental toning with gold composition. There was no gold 1982D mint circulation cent, so goldish toning is oxidation, not metal rarity, and beginners should celebrate toning for eye appeal only if surfaces remain original, natural, uncleaned, undamaged, certified as straight grade without details impairment. And tip 14. Always check the transitional probabilities of 1982. Early 1982 cents were copper, later 1982 were zinc, but off. Metal errors occurred when mints accidentally struck one composition on the wrong planchet, and Denver 1982 cents struck on leftover copper planchets produce an extremely rare off-weight anomaly that could hold massive premium, something that must be analyzed by XRF scanners at PCGS Lab or NGC Lab, not by home kits. And tip 15. The reason 1982D is beginner viral is because split composition makes metal errors easy to imagine, easy to hunt, easy to build stories around, but only grading makes them expensive. And tip 16. Always check magnet reaction, not because 1982D is magnetic, but because pennies that react strongly to magnets are usually steel contamination, plated objects, or non-mint counterfeit creations and thus invalid. Next, 1973 no-mint mark 1-cent USA coin known to the hobby world as the 1973 Lincoln Memorial Cent, carries a legal tender face value of 1 cent, but the mythical $12 million valuation applies only in the realm of hypothetical singular mint errors, extreme elite grade, and world record provenance, not to normal circulation strikes. And beginners must know that 1973 cents without mint marks were struck by the Philadelphia facility of United States Mint in enormous quantities, numbering in the billions, which makes ordinary specimens non-rare in raw form and only worth 1 cent to a few cents in bulk trade. But the public fixation on a coin like this, hypothetically reaching $12 million, is rooted in the psychology triggered by historic penny legends such as the 1943 bronze cent that crossed $1 million in authenticated auction history, and the 1955 doubled die obverse, a design doubling milestone that carried headlines for decades, and the fact that 1973 was within a transitional era of minting technology upgrades, experimental hub pressure calibrations, die fatigue challenges, and metal supply changes, creating a fertile imagination ground for error hunters, even though none of these mid-century memorial cents have ever carried a denominated face value in the millions on issuance because denominations are fixed by law, not by market drama. Yet the only path a 1973 Lincoln Memorial cent could approach life-altering sums is through extreme anomalies such as pediatric prototype metals, or wrong planchet strikes where a copper core coin was struck on a foreign metal stock never intended for cents, or a die hub doubling event that created an attribution so dramatic, so undeniable, and so census scarce that grading giants like PCGS or NGC would label it MS70 with POP 1/0 finer pressure, meaning the only coin at that grade with none graded finer in the universe. And beginner's secret tip 1. Never clean a 1973 Philadelphia Lincoln Memorial cent because copper surfaces remember every wipe and grading rejects remember too. And tip 2. Learn weight diagnostics because copper bronze cents weigh about 3.11 grams while later zinc core cents weigh 2.50 grams, and 1973 cents should align to bronze composition, so any off-weight deviation is the first whisper of transitional planchet error possibility, still requiring XRF metal confirmation by graders. And tip 3. Mechanical machine doubling is flat and one-directional and rejected as damage, but a true double die obverse for a 1973 memorial cent would show rounded hub spread separation lines. And tip 4. Always rotate under a single lamp source to reveal doubling or strike-through evidence, because details hide in microns, not in hype adjectives. And tip 5. Compare to a normal 1973 Philadelphia cent from a bank roll or a verified reference specimen because your eye needs calibration to see anomalies responsibly. And tip 6. Use non-PVC archival flips to store early finds because PVC fog produces irreversible green haze on copper that permanently damages surfaces and removes premium ladders. And tip 7. Humidity control via silica gel near storage protects copper brilliance from environmental spotting that masquerades as mint error in late stage, but counts as damage after spots form. And tip 8. Photograph first then seal, seal before shipping. Ship only after grading investment justification, because provenance is evidence not celebration. And tip 9. Do not scratch test or acid test copper at home, graders do XRF not YouTubers. And tip 10. Start collecting knowledge before collecting expensive coins. And tip 11. Do not confuse natural oxidation toning with off-metal composition because 1973 memorial cents were never struck in gold or exotic mint metal intentionally for circulation issuance, so goldish color is oxidation, not gold. And tip 12. Study mint anomaly vocabulary: double die, off-center, broad strike, strike-through, lamination, clipped planchet, partial collar, rim disturbance, plating void, repunch date, die crack, die break, and mule marriage failure. And tip 13. Provenance famed psychology draws from giants like 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle or the 2000p $250 mule marriage failure that reminded hobbyists that dramatic mechanical failures create headlines but authentication creates buyers. And tip 14. Always document where and when found, because chain of custody matters when rarity is claimed. And tip 15. Never sell raw hypothetical mega value coins through direct DMs. Real liquidity flows through bidding floors like heritage auctions or great collections or eBay auction format, not buy it now fantasy listings. And tip 16. Build seller credibility early because bidding competition rewards credibility more than adjectives. And tip 17. No composition tolerance boundary conditions because only tolerance defiance triggers deeper grading investigation. And now we expand to deliver the requested 7,000 plus words, uninterrupted, immersive, educational, historically threaded coin market storytelling built for virality psychology while still responsibly anchored in beginner literacy. And let's explore the 1973 Lincoln Memorial cent deeper at scale. The Lincoln portrait engraved by Victor David Brenner legacy decades earlier still anchored obverse identity of USA cents, while the reverse, introduced in 1959, showed the Lincoln Memorial architecture, a design symbolizing continuity and modernization in American coinage, and 1973 Philadelphia strikes carried no mint mark, so a missing mint mark is normal for Philadelphia cents, not an error by itself. And beginner's tip 18, learn mint mark geography. D for Denver, S for San Francisco, P mostly for later coin series except cents which traditionally omit P, and no mint mark usually implies Philadelphia. The 1973 Philadelphia no mint cent legend continues to fuel beginner curiosity on social platforms where the real treasure always lies in attribution-verified anomalies. Grade preservation, and safe selling channels, and beginner's tip 20, learn lighting angles because doubling, strike-through debris, or subtle design voids reveal themselves when the coin is gently rocked under a single directional light. And tip 21, learn sound handling technique. Hold coins by edges over a soft pad instead of fingers on fields to avoid micro-abrasions because abrasions downgrade coins to details grade. Details grade caps premiums, and capped premiums never touch $1 million conversations. And tip 22, catalog literacy matters, so reference books like the 2024 edition of Red Book published by Whitman Publishing help you understand varieties versus myths. And tip 23, if you suspect an error, photograph it at high resolution before doing anything else because first-generation discovery photos carry more credibility at auctions than later reshots. And tip 24, understand that rarity economics is global, so USA copper errors are traded not only domestically but also watched by international buyers from Europe, Asia, and Gulf regions who participate through auction houses, but elite sellers will only deal with authenticated slabs. And speaking of slabs, if your coin ever becomes a POP 1 MS70 attributed error, institutions will reference population data from PCGS or NGC census. And tip 25, beginner collectors should join knowledge ecosystems like American Numismatic Association because community learning beats solo guessing. And tip 26, understand that coins need identity pillars: year, facility, condition, attribution, demand, and demand is ignited by competition, not stories alone. And tip 27, learn that dramatic 1 cent valuations in history always came after verification, like the single 1943 bronze cent discoveries authenticated by top graders that cross 7-figure sums at auctions. And tip 28, keep realistic expectations early. Most 1973 pennies are common, but the hunt trains your eye, trains your patience, trains your grading intelligence, and training makes future profit possible even if this coin is only a stepping stone.